for those of you who obviously are new here or may not be up to speed with everything that's been going on, Jen is running for Congress against Debbie Wasserman Schultz again. There is cautious optimism that we might have a chance to pull this off in light of everything that's going on right now. But one of the better examples that's out there is in lieu of the fact that it's not just, I mean, obviously we know where the GOP stands, especially in the state. They do not regard climate change as something to even address. In fact, it's something that has been basically written out of all legislation in Tallahassee. So you can't even address it. But then you have the corporate Democrats that go right along with it, like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who, when she was the top insider trader in the Democratic Party in 2022, was investing in fracking and drilling companies, which, of course, is as bad, if not the worst, form of energy extraction on the planet, and is something that she not only supports, but is willing to profit off of. And so anyone who is not in South Florida, but has been at least paying attention to the news, we have basically dealt with hurricane-level rain in this part of the country for the better part of 3 days now. It just eased up a little bit today for a little while. It's going to start up again tomorrow, and it may go into Saturday. And so if you've seen the footage that's been going on in East Broward County and in East Miami-Dade County, here's a little example of what we've been dealing with.
Is there no sound? There might not be.
I don't believe so.
Yeah. Look, we know that Miami floods every time there's a king tide. So why would people be surprised that this happened? It's amazing to me. And it's going to happen every single year, and yet it keeps happening, but yet there's no different preparation. Like, they don't, this year we're going to maybe try something different so we don't have streets flooded.
I have seen from conservatives, their excuse is the engineering's just not good enough and you need to fix that. No, you can only dredge so much and you can only drain so much before eventually there is nowhere to go. And what I have often said is whether you believe climate change is real is kind of irrelevant. You know who does believe climate change is real? The insurance companies. They believe it's real. And it's probably one of the biggest reasons why anybody who thinks that they're going to be able to afford a home in South Florida anymore, goodbye, over, not happening. Try getting an insurance quote. Try getting an interest rate quote and see where it gets you. You won't be able to afford it, or you'll be paying through your nose forever. Other parts of the country are probably going to have better rates at some point, sooner rather than later. But not down here. That's not happening. How in the hell, when you're looking at that type of flooding, do you think that you're going to get insured for anything at a reasonable rate? You can't. It's a disaster zone. And half the state lives south of Lake Okeechobee, which is even more insane. I think there's over 5 million people that live in Miami-Dade County alone. Not going to be able to survive. And I'm not just saying that, you know, you're going to drown, that the king tide's coming in and everybody's going underwater. What I'm saying is there is not going to be an opportunity to save yourselves if we do not take drastic action to deal with this. Now, one of the things that you have mentioned that you would be interested in fighting in a much more profound way if you had the federal seat is municipal rainwater conservation. Can you talk about what that type of benefit might provide? Again, it's not going to stop sea level rise, but it can help in some ways.
Well, I mean, I just started thinking about this a few years ago when I was driving down one of our highways and the water in the rainstorm pours off like in sheets. And I'm thinking, why aren't we collecting rainwater like in cisterns, barrels, at least off the bottom of the highway and at least in some sort of, and we don't collect the rainwater, and yet we have so much flooding. So I had this idea, which clearly it can't be the original idea of this, that what if we collected it and used the rainwater harvesting like we do for other different things, other residential people in communities, they have that. And Florida is actually one of the more supportive states as far as harvesting rainwater. It is a cost. And it's one of those things where everyone wants to see proven places that have done it and all that. But I actually do believe it's something that that we should be working on in areas that have significant flooding. And it can actually end up like really, providing more than half of our gray water in the, it's one of those things that I think should be a countywide effort, more so than one municipality. But yeah, that would be a start.
But bringing in the federal dollars would be necessary in order to jumpstart the program, you would think?
Yes, you have to. Because the state, especially in a place like Florida, you're not going to necessarily get the automatic support from Tallahassee to be like, oh, yes, let us help you with that. So, I think for sure you're going to have to get funding and be able to have some incentive to do it, just like you get from any other sort of green energy in theory, where they try to give you subsidies and support people. You get municipalities and counties that can get subsidized and get different help from the federal government in terms of being able to afford these kinds of infrastructure programs. But to me, it seems like it would be a better way to deal with flooding than just flooding.